All right, excellent. Well, why don't we go ahead and get started? Welcome to Berkeley Insights, everyone. Today we have Dr. Christopher Duran, who will be speaking about spiritual health in academia. So at this time, I'll turn it over to you, Christopher.
Hello, everybody. So I am very passionate about this topic, and it's because it was what my doctorate research was on. Not spiritual health in academia, but spiritual health in nursing. And I started noticing that there were these kind of like topics in spiritual health that really apply to our student population. So I was like, I need um, to talk about it. So I'm going to quickly go over my research. I'm not going to bore you with it, but kind of give you a premise to why I'm so passionate about this. So before I started teaching, I worked in geriatrics and worked in as a nursing director overseeing a campus of different settings for people 65 and older. And something I noticed was that people were spiritually distressed. There was a sense of people who didn't have a sense of purpose or significance, or they felt like there was no hope in life. So I decided to research it. And so we took about 175 participants, and we gave them something called a Facet SP12 and assessed their spiritual health. And what we tried to do was to see, do these participants screen positive for spiritual distress? And if they do, would they be a candidate for therapeutic services? In our case, we did social work services because
I
that was
can't
the
hear
most
anything.
readily. Oh, can you not hear me?
I
Yes.
can, we can hear you.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Um, no,
I'm
it's
so
okay.
sorry. I didn't know my audio was on.
No, it's okay. So we did spiritual health assessments, and we found that the majority of participants who were in spiritual distress also screened positive for either anxiety or depression. So spiritual health has what we call like psychometric properties, where if you assess spiritual health, you can also sometimes pick up depression and anxiety. So that was kind of an interesting finding that was not expected as the research was coming about. So I want to talk about today about spiritual health, what that means in academia, and what do we do as faculty and staff in academia to enhance spiritual health, and why is that important? So I'm curious, you have a chat function in your box. If you click on that little chat, can you guys type in what you think it means to be spiritually healthy? Like if you were to talk to someone and they're like, "Oh, I'm spiritually healthy," what does that look like? I'm curious what you guys think. And I'm gonna just start reading stuff out loud. Peace of mind, higher power, prayer, loving self, in tune with self, peace, inner self, sense of purpose, honesty, being content. Cool. Reflection and assessment, absolutely. Trust, hope, peace. So you guys kind of see there's like a lot of trends going on with peace, state of mind, meditation, time with God. Definitely. And so positivity, equilibrium, I like that one. So if I were to ask you guys what is spiritual distress, what would you guys describe that as? Feeling lost, lonely, disharmony, no sense of purpose, unbalanced, mental health, discomfort, isolation, hopelessness. Yeah, so this is awesome. And this is exactly unclear, unclarity, lack of clarity, dishonesty. Yeah, so this is kind of what the literature, feeling confused, definitely. So this is a lot of what the literature was telling us. And so spiritual distress, if I had to define it, was not having a sense of purpose, meaning, or significance. And it was not having a connection power to a power greater than oneself. So spiritual health and religion are very different. And what the research has showed, which was fascinating, I gave this talk to a church a couple weeks ago. You can have faith and believe in God and still be spiritually sick. So you could believe in God, but feel like God is punishing you, feel like there's no hope, there's no significance. What's the purpose of me being here? God doesn't love me. So you could have faith, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're spiritually healthy. And when we talk about spiritual health, we also talk about being connected to greater than someone or something greater than oneself. So it doesn't have to be God. It could be a feeling connected to nature, feeling connected to the universe. So we don't have to tie it with religion, as many of us. I have a faith, but some people don't, and you could still be spiritually healthy and not have a faith in a deity. So spiritual health in healthcare actually produced, when people were spiritually healthy, improved patient satisfaction scores. And we love that in healthcare. We love having good reviews on Google. We love having good reviews when we get our metrics for accreditation for hospitals. But the same thing I'll talk about in a minute with schools. Like, we want to have a good reputation. We want students to have positive feedback. So spiritual health actually improves outcomes for nursing, improves patient satisfaction. One of the interesting studies found that spiritual distress, when I was doing the research, we had to prove a biological basis for spiritual distress. If you are in spiritual distress, so a lack of hope, a lack of peace, a lack of purpose, a lack of inner faith in a power greater than oneself, you actually had an increased risk of death. There's a stress cytokine called interleukin 6, and it links to inflammatory disease processes, cancer, pain, stroke, heart attack, and death. And so spiritual health, literally, if not in the right place, so if you're in spiritual stress, you actually have a shorter life, which I thought was kind of a fascinating study that they did. So we also know that spiritual health is correlated with psychological health. And so students or people or patients who are not spiritually healthy most likely also are going to have some type of mental distress, whether it's anxiety, depression, or even acute stress. Some interesting findings that came out. So what do we want for our students? What do we want as a campus when it comes to just in general? And that's lower mortality, obviously, but also just better mental health. These students are extremely stressed out. They have a lot going on. We have to think about their personal lives. We have to think about children. We have to think about spouses, medical illnesses that they may have, financial strains that the students face, but also just the intense workload that we put on our students. And so spiritual health has the ability to address all these issues. So if we're talking about spiritual health in academia, in the box, what would it look like if a student were to express meaning and purpose in academia? Or if anyone wants to come off their mic and share some thoughts.
Can you repeat the question, please?
How would like a student express meaning and purpose in their academics or on college campus in general? I feel valued in the classroom and my studies are helping me fulfill my career goals. Absolutely. So does what we're giving our students make them feel that it's purposeful learning and it's adding meaning to their life? Really good point. Showing up, getting assignments in on time with depth and being pleasant and participating. Yeah, so we can look at behaviors. Behaviors are a good indicator of how people are spiritually and are they connected? Definitely. What they're doing means a great deal to them, and this is meaning to them and others. Connection, positive experience, getting good grades. What about values and integrity? What does that look like in academia? And I apologize that I'm looking to the side. I have like multiple screens at home, so that's why it looks like I'm not looking at you guys. Collaborative learning, being on time. Value knowledge, no cheating. Yeah. So one of the biggest things we see with spiritual health in academia is students' honesty with their work. I'm proud of my work I'm doing, and I find it important because it helps me be better, myself and my skill set. Yeah, I think one of the things we also look at with values and integrity is bullying. Our students having the values of putting others before themselves, of uplifting instead of putting people down. What about connection and belonging in the classroom or on campus? What does that look like? Services, resources, team player, being accepted, reaching out for help. Absolutely. Joining clubs, being involved on campus, feeling seen and heard. Definitely. Networking. Yeah, absolutely. And then what about transcendence and growth? Step in my journey to fulfill my potential. Communicating and being open and responsive to others' needs. Becoming a peer tutor, helping peers learn. Mentoring other students. Yeah. Volunteering on campus or getting good grades to show up on the list. Finishing. Yeah, so we often think about academics and finishing your academics. Something I think about too with transcendence and growth is change of temperament as they progress through the programs. So there's multiple stories of students who come in from certain situations where they come in hot and angry and frustrated, and by the end of the program, they've completely turned around and have grown into a totally different person. I like to joke with the nursing students in particular, and this is so true, anyone that's in nursing, that when you start the program, I tell students if you're in a relationship with someone, you're going to start realizing whether that person is adding to your life or not by the end of the nursing program, because you've put so much work and effort into trying to pass nursing school that if your partner is not putting the same work and effort into the relationship, it probably will not last. And students have come up to me at the end, right before graduation, they said that they broke up with their significant other because they felt like they weren't pulling their weight. Making a connection beyond graduation. Yeah, absolutely. So staying connected, and this is where alumni services come in, is really important as well, feeling that sense of purpose to their academic community. So we want to focus on obviously student well-being, but something else we also forget about is faculty flourishing. So I'm going to put Michael Iris on the spot. I love Michael. And I messaged him today and I was like, hey, I'm giving my talk. And he's in North Carolina on vacation. And we go to the same island every year in the Outer Banks. And so he messaged me back and I was like, Michael, don't message me while you're on vacation. But faculty flourishing, what are we doing for ourselves to be spiritually healthy? And again, do you feel that you are in a spiritually healthy place? I always tell students you can't give what you don't have. And so we can't help students connect to something greater than themselves or have a sense of peace or hope, especially in times of trouble or despair, if we don't have that ourselves. And so we have to take care of ourselves if we want to take care of students. Holistic learning. So, holistic learning and spiritual health is more than just knowledge or content. It's about a whole rounded person growing into something greater than what they were. And so in nursing, because that's my specialty, I think about how we train students to be empathetic listeners, how to have effective therapeutic communication with their patients, how to think of people as a whole rather than just a medical problem. And diversity and inclusion. So if we talk about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and we look at self-esteem and then we look at self-actualization, we don't have diversity and inclusion or the desire to be inclusive if we are not meeting our Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't care about other people or being inclusive if I cannot have a good view of myself. So Maslow's hierarchy of need actually states that if we do not feel loved and belonged, if we don't have a good self-esteem, we cannot achieve self-actualization, which some people would define as non-racism, non-homophobia, uh, non-genderism. So really just getting to this place of spiritual health actually helps with our diversity and inclusion as well. Okay. So I kind of asked you guys this before. How do we see spiritual distress in a student or maybe even another faculty member? And some of you talked about it already, showing up late, um, not submitting work on time, feeling hopeless. So I want to ask you guys this question, and you don't have to put it in the box. This is just for self-reflection. But this is the FACET SP12. We gave this to, I think it was 172 participants. So I'm going to give it to you guys, and I want you to reflect for yourself. But I also want you to think when you're talking to students, because faculty have the amazing ability, and staff, whether you're in advising or financial aid, to detect these things. Not that you're going to give them an assessment, but maybe these are key words that you can look for that may prompt kind of like, hey, we need to have a conversation a little deeper than just academics. So I'm going to ask you guys, do you feel peaceful? Do you have a reason for living? Has your life been productive? Do you have trouble feeling peace of mind? Do you have a sense of purpose? Can you reach deep down in yourself for comfort? Do you have a sense of harmony for yourself? Does your life lack meaning and purpose? Do you find comfort in your faith and spiritual beliefs? Do you find strength in your faith or spiritual beliefs? And then in terms of healthcare, we think about illness, but I know whatever happens in my life, things will be okay. Can you honestly say that no matter what happens, things will be okay in the end? And so you kind of have to gauge yourself on, what is your spiritual health look like? I can do this assessment on you when I'm on campus. If you want me to do it on you, I have no problem. But these are the type of questions we like to ask patients. And maybe these are some of the things we have to think about when we talk to students, particularly no matter what happens, will everything be okay? And usually students will say no. But we want it to be in a place where students are like, you know what? Whatever happens, it will be okay. So this is called FICA. This is how we address and assess spiritual health. And so these are just some questions that we can talk to, whether it's with other staff members or even with students. Do you consider yourself religious? Do you have spiritual beliefs that help you cope with stress? Or what gives your life meaning? Importance. What importance does faith or belief have in your life? What role do your beliefs play in regaining your health? Community. So community is really important. And I just want to emphasize that, again, it doesn't have to be religious community. It could be spiritual community as well. But the community has the chance to build people up, but it also has the chance to destroy people. And so we have to be very mindful of how this sounds so silly, but just being mindful of how we interact with other staff members, other faculty members, and that community can really make or break a workplace. So when I was overseeing a nursing department, I oversaw, as I said, a campus of geriatrics, and I had nurses and nurses' aides and nursing managers underneath me. And one of the things I really was adamant about was not penalizing someone for making a mistake, but it was easier for me to let someone go who had an attitude problem than somebody who had made a mistake. Now, obviously, if the mistake killed somebody, which did not happen, thank God, but that's a different story. But sometimes the best worker, the person that puts out the best work, is not always going to inspire community because of their attitude. And it's something I've always been adamant about when I was in nursing leadership, is that attitude can kill teams, attitudes can kill a classroom, attitudes can kill a community. And so it's something as faculty and even just staff members, we have to keep in mind that attitude affects teams and affects community. And if attitude is not in check, it can really destroy the environment of a learning and a workplace or a learning place. And something I ask students all the time when I meet with them, because as faculty, as staff, whether we're in, again, financial aid, we're in registrar, even if we are, if we're in environmental services, like I just think about, we do connect with students and they do tell us things. And so I often ask, is there anything I can do for you to help you through this? And a lot of times it's just sitting there and listening to them. But don't forget too that we also have an amazing student services team that's meant to help students, and I think sometimes it goes underused. And these counselors are meant to help the students. And so the research does say that therapists, social workers are specifically equipped to assist with spiritual distress, especially because anxiety and depression correlate with spiritual distress. Um, has anyone heard of Jean Watson? She's like my favorite researcher in the entire world. I freaking love this woman. I love her. I messaged her on LinkedIn. Yeah, Dr. Latour knows her. I messaged her on LinkedIn and she wrote back, and I was like so excited that she sent me a heart and that she was so like I was just like, gosh, this researcher wrote back to me. She talks about different aspects of spiritual health. In this case, she talks about nurses, but I'm going to talk to us about as if we were nurses, but we're nursing students. And so look at this circle here, and it all makes sense of what we do as team members at Berkeley College. Having a healthy, helping trust relationship, allowing free expression of emotion. It's okay to feel anger. It's okay to feel sadness. It's just what we do with those emotions, right? How we express those emotions. But the feeling itself is not necessarily bad. Assisting with basic needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs tells us, elimination, airway, breathing, all those things are important in order to meet higher levels of psychological freedom. So if my basic needs are not met, I'm going to tell you guys a quick story, and I give this to my students to paint Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I went to Jose Tejas, which I love. I love Texas food. Tex-Mex fusion is so good. Give it to me anytime. Fajita, I'm going to eat it in like 5 minutes. But I don't know what happened that day. I was on an antibiotic too, so that's probably what did it. But I'm driving in the car on the way home with my friends. This is when I was in college, and I am about to have explosive diarrhea. It was awful. And so I start speeding. And my friends, they say to me, okay, Chris, like, you need to slow down. I don't care about my safety. I am about to explode in this car. And then they're like, okay, well, everything's going to be okay. No, nothing's going to be okay because I have an elimination need and it's not being met. And then they're like, let's listen to music. Maybe that will distract you. No. Music's not going to help me. I need to get to a bathroom. And am I saying mean things to the drivers that are not moving out of my way so I could get to a gas station? Yes, I am. I am not meeting self-actualization because I have to go to the bathroom really bad. So safety is thrown out the window, love and belonging is thrown out the window, self-esteem is thrown out the window, and so is self-actualization. But after I go to the bathroom and I wash my hands and I feel clean, I drive the speed limit. Not only do I drive the speed limit, I put on music. I talk with my friends, and I stop saying mean things to the drivers as I'm driving through. The same thing occurs with our students. If their basic needs of food, shelter, finances, and feeling safe are not met, none of the other stuff matters. And so those are things we have to keep in mind for our students. And just think about care of self, care for others, loving kindness. So I just really like Jean Watson's theory here. So how do we put this into practice? We kind of talked about this, but this was just a list I found online that Jean Watson has. And just creating a healing environment, assisting with healing, and allow room for miracles to take place. That's probably my favorite part of this, is allowing room for miracles to take place. Miracles happen all the time, and sometimes we miss them. Whether it's that student who came from a place of anger, a place of hardship, and now they have a degree, they graduate, and they move them and their family to a better life, that's a miracle to me. And we are vessels for miracles that take place consistently as we educate students and allow them to move into better places in their lives. So that's kind of it. I didn't want to go lengthy with this because I could talk about this for hours. I am here if you want to meet, if you have any questions, if you're nerdy and you want to know about my research, I'm happy to share it with you. I'm just looking at the comments here. Someone wrote, in K-12, you'll hear teachers say Maslow's before Bloom. Basically, students' basic needs must be met before they can think and learn. It's true in higher ed too. 100%. So Bloom's taxonomy, for those of you who aren't faculty, is a way of measuring basically learning outcomes and the type of questions we give students and but the psychological piece is always more important so that they can actually dive into that Bloom's taxonomy. Does anyone have any thoughts or questions or feelings?
Hey, Chris.
Oh, go ahead, Patty.
Oh, sorry. I just had an experience the other day. I had a student who missed class, and he's not a class skipper, and he emailed me and just confided that, he apologized first of all, and he said he just broke up with his girlfriend of 5 years, and he was absolutely devastated. And he used the word devastated. He said his health is suffering, and he just stopped going to work, and he just feels so lost. And my heart broke. And I didn't want to be the person who says, "Oh, you'll get over it," or "I was your age and had that happen to me." So I did. I mean, I recommended our counselors and therapy in general because I'm a big fan of therapy. But I felt lost. I felt like anything I said would not be the right thing. And, I didn't want to ask him if he was spiritual or religious because I felt like I almost felt like that would be changing the subject. I did have the opportunity to think about it because it was an email rather than a conversation on the phone, but I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, so that's a good point. I think sometimes it's okay not to know what to say. So in situations like that, sometimes I'll say, thank you for sharing that with me. I'm not really sure how to respond right now, but I'm just grateful that you felt like you could share that with me. And is there
Yeah.
anything I can do for you? We also have to keep in mind too, when students are in relationships, they also experience secondary losses. So he probably also lost a group of friends that he developed over the past 5 years, that family structure that she probably had for him. So he's not only dealing with the loss of one person, he's technically dealing with the loss of probably like 15 to 20 people. So it's an extensive loss for him. And so usually not only therapy, but also just having a good support system for him that he can find at the school. I don't know if Rebecca's on the call, but she has some student clubs. I know that we have our student services. They have clubs that students can join. And sometimes students, I find when they're going through loss, will want to sit with the faculty and just like talk to them. And sometimes that's all they need is just someone to listen to them. But thanks for sharing that.
I mean, I sent my response and similar, and actually a lot of it's similar to what you said. So I feel, yay me. But I said, I couldn't imagine how he's feeling right now, but, I did appreciate that he felt comfortable enough to share that with me. And just, I asked him, I said, what can I do to help you? And I haven't heard back. And now I'm all, ugh.
And
Do
is
I
this,
reach out again or do I let it sit for a little while? This was just a couple days ago.
you could totally reach out again and just say, hey, I'm just thinking of you.
Okay.
I'm always
Yeah.
here if you need anything, because that's always nice just to be like, oh, someone's thinking of me.
Okay. Yeah. Great idea. Thank you, Chris.
Chris, this is Maureen DeFonso.
Hi.
I just want to say that, being in admissions, we deal with the students first, and a lot of times they come in with a lot of obstacles and some really hardships. And us taking that fear away from them and us telling them the values of what we have here and what we do for our students, a lot of times that makes the decision of them coming here. And there's many times that students will say, check in with us, come say hello, tell me how we're doing. And some of them really take you up on it, and they do. They tell you they're happy, they feel part of something. And it's important that we make them feel important. I mean, that somebody cares about them, because a lot of them come in, so many of them, without support systems. So
100%.
so that's what we do. And I see a big difference in that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I think just to piggyback on that, really great job today. First of all, I didn't have explosive diarrhea on my Berkeley Insights bingo card today. So thanks for that. In all honesty, the world is just absolutely crazy right now. So this is definitely applicable to our students, our staff too. I mean, there's a high burnout rate in higher ed in general. So I really appreciate you bringing this up and talking about this. It was really insightful and it was really like it hit home. So good job on that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you guys will never forget Maslow's hierarchy of needs now, which is why I present it that way. But I think I don't know. I taught at a large university before coming to Berkeley College, and I feel like the resources and the care that the students get here is not the same as these large universities. And sometimes, like, there's always drama wherever you work. Berkeley College's drama is nothing compared to some of these other universities. I have friends that are professors elsewhere, and a lot of the stuff they say is that students are not the center of focus at a lot of these universities and colleges. And so that makes me really happy to be at Berkeley because I think they do take care of their students very well. And so that's just really nice. And I think Ty does a great job with the students too. I hear stories about Ty all the time and how she helps the students. So it's just really nice. Someone asked, would I present this study in another course? I'd be happy to. Someone said we try to provide wraparound care, and I love that. And we do care about our students, and I love that.
Go ahead, Amy.
So I was thinking when you were, talking about students, how important this is for them and staff and faculty. I remember when I was reading Michael Iris's dissertation, and there was a whole section on compassion fatigue, which I really never heard as an expression before. So I started to read about it, and I'm like, whoa, this is me. How many years do you spend helping people, talking to people, working on their documents, giving them an ear? And although you love it and it's your calling, there is a certain fatigue that you really can't put your finger on because you can't share it with your students. Like they're the reason you're feeling it and it's not their fault. And you can never say, how many of you I work with? You always have to be careful how you frame it. So this is important. It's kind of like checking us. We're saying students have to check themselves in order for them to be aware and do well in everything. We have to do that too in order to be good for our students. So this is important. Thank you.
One of the things I notice in myself is if I'm not giving words of affirmation to students, I'm not healthy. There's something going on that I need to check about myself. Because words of affirmation is my love language. I don't know if anyone's into the love languages. But I find that if I'm not giving words of affirmation and quality time to students in the sense of like sitting down with them, wanting to meet with them, that there's something in my personal life that's impacting my job. And so I need to self-reflect and be like, okay, something's going on. I need to fix this.
Wow. Very powerful, Christopher, and congratulations on getting your doctorate. I mean, your research is just amazing, and I'm so happy that you took the time to share it with us today. So congratulations to you and thank you. Any last thoughts or questions? All right, you know where to find Christopher, so.
I'll be back on campus this afternoon. I just have to bring my cat to the vet.
Good
so
luck.
once she's fine. So I'll be back when she comes home.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again and congratulations.
Thank
and
you.
I'll see everyone next week. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.